Anxiety doesn't always show up loud. Sometimes it hides in your work ethic, in the hours no one sees, in the moments you tell yourself, I'm fine, when your whole chest is on fire. My name is Marcus Bell. I'm 36 years old. I live in a small, quiet neighborhood called Birch Hollow, just outside of Springfield, Missouri. From the outside, my life looked like a textbook definition of success. Steady job managing warehouse operations, 2 boys I love more than life, and a garage gym I built myself with my own hands. People saw a grinder, a machine, someone who woke up at 4:30 every morning and never missed a workout. But they didn't see the silence that followed me home every night. They didn't see me gripping the steering wheel in the parking lot, paralyzed by something I couldn't name. They didn't know that every time someone said you're a beast, I felt more like a ghost. My father raised me on one principle: leave it all on the floor. He wasn't a talker, but that sentence became my Bible. I gave 120% to everything: work, family, training, but no matter how much I achieved, something inside me stayed broken. I wasn't chasing success. I was running from feeling worthless. I thought if I just won enough, lifted, enough outworked everyone around me, I could outrun the feeling that I was never enough to begin with. That invisible pain, it built up like rust in my bones. The fall didn't come all at once. That's not how this stuff works. It was slow, like erosion. One missed call from my ex. One night, when my boys asked why, I never smiled anymore. One moment when I caught myself yelling in the mirror because I missed a rep. Then came the collapse. A panic attack in the middle of a deadlift session. It hit like a truck. My hands froze on the bar. My heart raced like I was dying. I dropped to my knees, right there on the concrete, gasping for air. For the first time in my life, I couldn't push through. I told myself I just needed rest. Maybe a week off, maybe a weekend away. But it wasn't about the weights. It was never about the grind. I wasn't training to win. I was training to escape. And that day, my body finally said no. For 3 days, I stayed in bed. Couldn't move, couldn't fake it anymore. The silence I had buried for years finally caught up with me. No crowds, no gym music, just me and the truth. I was broken, not weak, not lazy. Broken, quietly, invisibly, completely. That kind of pain doesn't scream. It whispers, you're not enough, until you believe it's your own voice. But something unexpected happened on the 4th morning. I opened my eyes and heard birds outside the window. Simple. Stupid, maybe, but it felt like the first sound I had noticed in weeks. I got out of bed. No workout, no phone, just a hoodie and a walk through the trail behind my house. It was the first time I moved without trying to prove something. Every morning after that, I walked. No headphones, no timer, just me in the cold morning air. I started noticing things. The crunch of gravel, the sound of my breath, the way the sky looked before sunrise, and little by little, the anxiety loosened its grip. That walk became a habit, a ritual, my habit that saved me. People always ask what changed. What flipped the switch? And the truth is, nothing grand happened. I just stopped lying to myself. I stopped pretending the success would erase my pain. I stopped measuring my worth and how much I could suffer without breaking. I learned that healing doesn't look like domination. Sometimes it looks like walking alone at 5 a.m., whispering to yourself, I'm still here. You don't rebuild overnight, but you can rebuild. I'm not saying I'm perfect now. I still fight that invisible war some mornings, but I win more often than I lose. I smile when I pick up my kids. I feel peace when I walk through my garage, and most importantly, I finally understand what it means to be strong. Real strength isn't how much weight you carry. It's how honest you can be when you've dropped it all. I used to think the enemy was out there. Another guy at the gym, another name on the leaderboard, another person doing better, lifting more, living louder. But I was wrong. The real enemy was the silence inside me, the voice I ignored for years, the fear of not being enough, the belief that if I ever slowed down, I'd lose everything. Truth is, I had already lost myself. It took breaking down in my own sanctuary to realize that panic attack wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Because pain, when you finally face it, becomes direction. And direction becomes clarity. I made some changes. I still train, but now I train for peace, not war. I journal every night, just a few lines. I write what I felt that day. What made me pause? What made me proud? That 5-minute habit grounded me. It made the chaos inside start to make sense. One sentence kept showing up in my journal. I don't have to fight alone anymore. I started talking to my boys differently. No more empty man-up speeches. I told them about fear, about doubt, about how even dads fall apart sometimes. And I watched their eyes soften when they realized they didn't have to be perfect either. One Saturday morning, my oldest son, only 8, walked next to me on my trail. He didn't say much, just walked. And halfway through, he said, Dad, I like when you're quiet like this. It feels calm. That's when I knew the habit had healed more than just me. It was creating space for my sons to grow without fear. This is the best phase of my life. Not because everything's perfect, it's not, but because I'm finally real. I don't need trophies to feel worthy. I don't need to bleed to feel strong. I've learned that resilience isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper that says, I'm not quitting today. If you're reading this and you feel like you're drowning in expectations, I want to tell you something honest. You don't need to break to prove you're strong. You don't need to grind until your soul collapses. You need to listen to what hurts, and you need to give yourself permission to heal. That permission changed my life. I look around and I see ordinary people carrying extraordinary pain. Men who go to work every day with invisible wounds. Fathers who never learned how to cry. Sons who were told, love is weakness. And I want you to know, you're not alone. Not even close. Some of the strongest people I've met are the ones who walked through fire and still learned how to love again. They rebuilt their lives from habits no one applauded, from battles no one saw. They became unbreakable, not because they avoided pain, but because they finally faced it. That's what I did. And you can too. So what saved me? A walk, a pen, a moment of honesty. That's all it took to start rebuilding. That's all it ever takes. Not some grand event, not a life coach, just a choice. A small, quiet choice to live instead of survive. Let me leave you with this. You'll have more inside you than you realize. Not just strength, but wisdom. Not just discipline, but kindness. You are not the pain you carry. You are the fight that refuses to die. And every day you show up, even tired, even scared, is a day you are winning. I will win, not by crushing others, but by becoming someone my sons can look up to. By being a man who walks through pain and still chooses to rise. By telling the truth about what it means to heal. This is Marcus Bell from Birch Hollow, Missouri. And I'm not done fighting, but now I fight with peace in my chest. I'm not here to impress, I'm here to be free.